We'll get started. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Camp NaNoWriMo virtual write-in. Yay! We just saw in the chat that somebody won, so congrats. What a good way to start off the write-in. If you don't know me, my name is Catherine. I am the communications manager at NaNoWriMo.
And I'm Maria.
Yeah.
And I am the programs fellow for this year for NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. So feel free to say hi in the chat and tell us where you're writing from, where you're at on your Camp NaNoWriMo progress.
I've already seen someone from Scotland, and I'm like going there this summer, so that's
exciting.
I don't know. And then Finland and Vancouver, a lot of places. I don't know.
Yeah, Denmark, Massachusetts. Sweet. Rosalind Starling says, I've won camp already, but I'm here to write a short story for an anthology. That's exciting. Ooh, Megan M says, I'm close to being at my camp goal. I have 1,546 words to go. You can totally get it. You might even get it in this write-in, who knows?
Yeah, you can.
Witchy Rabbit just says, struggling in all caps. I feel you.
I'm very much agree. Looks like some fellow Danish people in the chat.
Awesome. So yeah, welcome. If you've never been to one of these before, or if you're not really familiar with how they work, basically we're going to be taking the next hour to do some writing sprints where we'll give you some prompts and you just kind of write as many words as you can in a set amount of time. And then we'll also be chatting about our projects a little bit. So if you have anything that's coming up for you, if you're like, oh man, I'm feeling really stuck on this thing, or you want to celebrate something that's going on in your story, you can put that in the chat and we can talk about it. But yeah, hopefully by the end of this hour, you'll be a good way further on towards your Camp NaNoWriMo goal.
So if you haven't been to a virtual write-in before, it's essentially an event that's virtual where writers gather just so they can get in the flow of writing and get started for the day or the week or however you're going. And so we usually do topics. And so today's topic will be like imagery and descriptive writing. And so I hope you guys are excited. And we're going to start with our first, just going to jump in and start with our first prompt, which is write your next scene using these 3 words: tumultuous, dense, and thicket.
All right, and I'll put that in the chat and in the video description in case people want to refer back. I'm just pulling up my timer here. So how long is this one going to be? 5 minutes? Yeah. All right, let's do 5 minutes. Writing sprint. Sorry, I'm just getting all my stuff situated here. So yeah, using the words tumultuous, dense, or thicket. Write as many words as you can in the next 5 minutes. And let's go ahead and start writing now. Got about a minute left in this sprint. Okay, time is up for that sprint. So go ahead and wrap up what you're writing. If you want to put in the chat how many words you got during that writing sprint, or if you used any of the words, or if you want to share a sentence from what you wrote, go ahead and put it in there. I always love seeing what people are writing and working on. I see that Writer Adventure is currently working on a fanfic about people from different shows meeting and fighting to save the multiverse, a crossover, if you will. That's always fun.
Yep, that sounds so cool.
Got some people who've been dealing with some writer's block too, it looks like. So hopefully our sprints will help you sprint past that.
And Ellen last week said one of the prompts was to have a character go where they hadn't been before. And so maybe just got back from the trip at 2:05 and they're starting the writer now, so that's awesome.
Oh, great. Linda says, thanks to this prompt, I hit 10K, yay. Julia Peterson got 345, though they didn't use the prompt. That's fine. You don't have to use them if you don't want to, if it doesn't work for you, but it can be a...
I see Megan used all three words in one sentence. Being an intern is a tumultuous time. Any job you start off for the first time is like a dense thicket of underbrush that you have to push it your way after. That's so creative. And
yeah, extra points for using all three words at the time. And making it about how being an intern is a tumultuous time, because it's very true.
Yes. Not Nano though. It's very nice at Nano.
Oh, good. Okay.
CB is writing a WWE fanfic. So, in other words, dumping pro wrestling.
All right. I gotta say, I will admit that for a long time I had friends who watched like WWE, like the fake pro wrestling stuff. I mean fake, but anyway, and I was like, oh yeah, what is that? And then I caught it, like it was like on a TV screen in a restaurant one time when I was waiting for my food. And I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, these people are such good entertainers. Like I have no idea who these characters are, but I am so invested. Like, what is going on? So I don't know.
It's just so intense. So like there's just so much you can do with it.
It's
especially
fun.
Like this shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's funny because I have a dance background, but looking at it, I was like, oh my God, this choreography is amazing. So I gotta say, I was turned around. My eyes were open.
154 words. My character's trying to lose their pursuer as an orchid. So that's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of drama there.
Yeah, for sure. There's always the best scenes, like to both read and write, like the high action intensity scenes. Maybe we could have that as a theme for one of the future items.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Action scenes.
Yeah, it's interesting that today's theme is like all about description, because I am one of those people that, like, when I write, especially my first drafts, I tend to write a ton of description, just like, oh, I gotta like say every little thing that's in the room, which can be good, but can be not so good. So I'm Ria, you posed this question about what are people's favorite descriptive words to use and what are ones that you might overuse, which I am very interested to hear if people notice that they have like words or phrases that they tend to overuse. Do you have any that come to the top of your head?
I have like, I've mostly been writing academic stuff recently, but like my favorite word that I always overuse is like, I don't know what it's called, it starts with P, because I've been like forced out of it by my teachers. They've been like, stop using this word. It's like pertinent is very like I use that word a lot, and then like and that's not a descriptive. I use a lot of verbs a lot, but like I'm always like I kind of touch on adverbs a lot, like quickly, you know, kind of just not cop outs, but like some people consider them cop outs, but like yeah, I like use those words a lot. I have to like go back and dig to see what kind of words I use in my novel a lot though, but there's definitely some that I overuse.
I couldn't think of any words off the top of my head, but a thing that I have been called out for several times by several different people is using em dashes way too much. So instead of just like writing a sentence and putting a period at the end, I'm like, no, this sentence needs to be 3 lines longer. I'm going to put like 5 em dashes in this one sentence.
M dash, I just feel like M dashes make you feel like a professional writer. I don't know why. Like ever since I started using them, I'm like, wow, like I feel like so legitimate, even though like I overuse them too.
M dash my beloved, but
someone Gloria said that they overuse the word meanwhile. If we're talking about transitions, I overuse however so much. I was writing an essay and I was like, wow, I've used however 3 times in the past 3 paragraphs. Like I should not do that.
Oh, that's good. Oh man. Teresa says one word I overuse is that. I find myself 5 cents each time I say that. Ooh, that's a really good one.
That's also hard though. Like I also use that a lot. I realize when I'm writing, like I use participles a lot. Like I use the I forgot, I don't know what that's called with that. It's been so long since I took like an proper English class, right? I learned those grammar words. But like the of and like the extra descriptors, like I did this because of blah, blah, blah. Like just overriding is like a thing that I do a lot.
Yeah. No, I find yeah, those little words that you put into a sentence that you're like, wait, it doesn't actually need that.
And like it's like over exaggerate. I run on a lot. I like when people edit my stuff, they're always like, oh, that's a run on, and I'm like, oh no. I'm writing in first person, says Megan, so it's hard not to use I in every sentence. That's the big one. Like starting off every sentence with like that or with like a similar thing. Yeah. An M dash is like, it's like a hyphen, but it's like a little longer.
Yeah.
And so like it is like I think it's used to signify like a little pause in the sentence. That's not as like, it's a bit more severe than a comma, but it's less severe than a period. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called an M dash because it like on the page takes up the space of an M, like the literal space of the letter M. So
Linda uses suddenly a lot.
Oh yeah. Rachel uses tense a lot.
That's the one.
Ooh, Rachel also just hit chapter 25 in their novel. Congratulations.
That's amazing. And then Magdalene said, not a lot of words, but a massive restructuring of the novel that is so much better. So first prompt today, we hope that's so nice to hear. Spirit Voices, I noticed that sometimes I like to repeat descriptions of characters' appearances a lot. So it's not a specific word, but it's also a lot of so and so's eye color or flips or descriptive hair. That makes, I do that too. And I used to like when I was like younger, I used to describe things as like eyes as like orbs, and like which is like a sin now. Apparently, I figured that out. But like, I was like, they're blue orbs, and I was like, now I'm like, what was I doing?
I there's a book by Diana Wynne Jones, Fire and Hemlock, and one of the characters in it like is a kid and is like writing stuff and like has this description about the silken skin of somebody's back, and then there's another character that's like, have you ever touched back skin? It's not, it doesn't feel like silk. So I don't know, I always think of that when I do those, like, you know, those fancy descriptions, and like sometimes they're good and sometimes like that having those lyrical descriptions is fun, but other times you're like, oh, is this really how it is, or have I just like heard that a lot? So
Being forced to read a lot of like literature in my literature class this year, I've realized a lot of authors like don't do like they like use those like really nice lyrical descriptions for like nature and like things like that. But like when it comes to people, they're just like they had blue eyes and black hair, and I was like, wow, they're just like telling me that, and like, and they're successful. So like, I mean, I guess it's fine. But yeah, so I guess description can be as easy or as hard as you make it. I guess it depends on your project and like what you're working on. But I think this is a good segue to go on to our next prompt, which is it is more surrounding about like dialogue and description. And so our prompt is describe your next scene entirely through dialogue between your characters. So what do they notice about their surroundings, and how do the characters see and describe each other? And so we picked this prompt because we use a lot of like lyrical descriptions and we are describing things, but dialogue is also a really great avenue for description and setting and world building. So let's exercise that and like through the eyes of our characters.
Yeah, it's great. And I was thinking about this prompt in Looking for Alaska by John Green. There's a whole scene where like they're in the dark, and so it's just in the dialogue, but then you figure out what's going on because of like the things that they're saying to each other, so you're getting that description through the dialogue. I don't know, but cool. So I'm going to put that in the chat and then also in the video description, and this one is 10 minutes long. So we'll do a 10-minute writing sprint. So try to use all those juicy, good descriptions in your character's dialogue with one another. And so we'll write for 10 minutes, and let's start now. Got about 3.5 minutes left in this sprint. All right, time is up for that sprint. So go ahead and wrap up what you're writing. Again, if you want to share the word count that you got during that sprint, or if you want to share a sentence that you wrote or how you use the prompt, if you use the prompt in the chat, then feel free to put that in there. How'd they go for you?
That went pretty well. It's a nice prompt. And like I always like I'm like I said, I'm a writer, so like forcing myself to like describe settings and like all that kind of stuff through dialogue is like difficult, and so it was a good thought exercise as well. And I got like 100 words.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny sometimes when I try to do stuff like this, I get really hung up on like how would the characters describe things that is different from like me as the author describing things. But sometimes it's fun to like really get into their heads and into their voice. So
yeah, and I think it's definitely like a skill. Like getting into character's voice is a really good skill in just like writing in general. And so this prompt might have slowed people down, but like I think it was good.
Good.
And so let's see. Megan did the 101 words. And like obviously if like the prompt is like inhibiting you from like, you know, truly sprinting, then like then it's like very flexible. We're just here to like write together. And so Ellen said 349 words. I used dialogue, but so MC could recount the trip that this went on up to a fourth character. That's actually a really nice way to use description.
Teresa scored 92 words describing a tattoo on a guy's neck. I like that.
RP said, enter within and have, I don't know what that is, but, and a pedal drink with me. And OE sir is only for tiddlers. I'm old compared to them. That really feels like it's in character voice and in the context of what your story is. So that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. One thing that is really important for descriptions is having a good variance, like a good bank of words to use, so you don't overuse them. And so, like a good exercise I do, like test how many words I know, and like to like not necessarily learn word. It's just like the puzzle is like Wordle. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. I'm an avid Wordler. So that can be our next discussion question. Do you guys do Wordle? Does it like help you? Sometimes it makes me feel like a bad writer. I'm like, wow, I did not guess that word, even though
yeah, I saw it when like the whole Wordle thing happened. And it's like, you know, you get a certain number of like boxes and you have to like guess what letters, and it'll tell you what the letters, but I just kept seeing people posting these like random colored boxes, and I was like, what does it mean? What does it all mean? And then somebody described it to me and I was like, oh, it's a word game. Okay, this is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I killed the Wordle today. I got it in 2.
Ooh,
I
nice.
like the first word I had was like I got like a yellow box, and that's it. And then I just guessed a word and I got it, and I was like, wow, I am a god. I sent it to my group chats and they were like, wow, congratulations.
Yes. Somebody asked if we tried Quirtle, which I am not sure what that is, but it sounds intriguing.
It's like Wordle, but like I think there's 4 Wordles, and like it's a more complicated version of it. It's cool.
Wow.
I haven't tried. My friends do it. I haven't done it. My friends do like all these different ones. Like there's a new one called Waffle, and I did that one today. And like that's it. It's like Wordle, but like this, and like you have to guess the words and like swap out things instead. So it's quite interesting.
So like some crossword puzzle elements in there. Oh man.
Yeah, I think so. There's just so many word games nowadays, and I'm so glad that people are immersed in them. The nerdism is so ingrained in culture now, and I love that. But yeah.
Man. Oh, what a Music Geek posted in the chat that they got 268 words during that last prompt. And they say, I write dialogue very fast. I was describing the letter my main character wrote to Lin-Manuel Miranda and sent a crocheted gift about how this book saved her life from mental illness. That's cool. Nice. I like the idea of using that letter as like kind of descriptive dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Ellen says, I try not to use unusual words unless they're appropriate for the time frame. So are in the early 20th century historical fiction. That's really good. I struggle with that sometimes. Like I use words that like would not make sense in the time frame or the context that my story is set in. And like one time I heard this like YouTuber talk about how jarring it was to see like especially like if it's like a sci-fi novel and then using like very specific earthly religious like lingo. It's like, oh, like it's just like a little outside of like
it has a lot of implications about this world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, that seems out of place. Or like I don't think they know what that is, but yeah. My daily word games are Wordle and Dordle, so that's 2 Wordle worlds we solve simultaneously. That's interesting. I want to get into more of them.
Nice, yeah. So Gloria Engdahl says, I never use dialogue to describe a setting, but it's cool. I had a hard time at first, but managed to get a full paragraph, 84 words. I described the characters who are stuck in their bomb shelter. They said they are stuck there because the underworld lord is on a murderous streak. So I love everything about that.
Yeah, it sounds so interesting. well, speaking of dialogue, like there's this one exercise. This is like not description related. It's like character voice related, but like you guys should try it sometime. Where it's like um, you are like you're supposed to use dialogue, but then not do any character tags. So like you don't say who's saying it, and so it's like fully dependent on like distinguishing it. It's like fully dependent on like how strong the character's voice is, and like adding more and more characters like really helps you like solidify how you know how like individualistic and how like specific your character's voices are. Obviously, like don't do that in your not don't your final degree novel. Like maybe don't, but like I think that's a good exercise to just like see like how different can I make my characters and like can my friends tell which characters are which.
Yeah. That's a great exercise. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ellen.
Okay.
Ellen says I have a friend on Facebook trying to drive me into Wordle. Like play with it later tonight. Yeah, it's like you resisted for a little bit and then you fall into the pipeline and you never stop.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like yeah, we were talking about using words that don't really belong and how usually you want to stay away from that. And then I was also thinking like you can use that too as like a conscious choice. I was thinking about this because I've been watching Our Flag Means Death recently. If you haven't seen it, it's great. Just like Taika Waititi, queer pirates. I'm very into it. And it's like, you know, it's a pirate show. So it's like set in a specific time period, but they use a lot of dialogue that is like very modern sounding that wouldn't actually happen, but it's like specifically for kind of the comedic purpose and building out those characters. So it's like it's one of those places where it's like if you do it intentionally, it can really work. But all right.
Yeah. I think speaking of that, we can kind of go into our last prompt.
Yeah.
So in this next scene, try to incorporate. So we like part of description is like senses, right? So in this next scene, try to incorporate like 2 or 3 of the 5 senses, which is if you don't remember, smell, taste, touch, sight, or hear, and you can do more or less if you want. But like try using them in creative ways so that it increases the imagery of your scene. But if you feel like you're like, let's say that you're an overwriter, like we were talking about today, then maybe you can try using less of them. So or like using them in like sparsity so that they do that. So just customize the prompt however you want. But
yeah. All right. And let's do this one for 12 minutes. We got a lot of good writing time in today. Marie's going to be right back in a second. But yeah, 12 minutes trying to incorporate at least 3 of the 5 senses, maybe more. We'll write for 12 minutes and let's go ahead and get started now. 2 minutes left in the sprint. Okay, time is up for that sprint. So once again, go ahead and wrap up what you're writing. If you want to tell us how many words you got for that sprint, or if you want to tell us how many words you got for this entire hour, feel free to put those in the chat. And again, feel free to let us know how you use the prompt, or if you want to share a sentence. Yeah. Oh, how'd that go for you?
That went pretty well. Like I said, I'm like an overwriter, but I usually like focus overwriting in like one sense. So like I just extensively describe how something looks and just not mention anything else. So it was a good. I used sight, smell, and like touch. But for touch, I used like I don't know, more figurative touch. So like she didn't touch anything, but she felt the world around her. So I kind of interpret that a little bit. But yeah, how'd that go for you?
Good. I really focused on taste because I realized like I've done some stories that have focused on like smell before, which is one of the ones that you don't really use. But I was like, I don't think I've ever like really focused in on taste unless it's like a character is particularly eating food. So it's like, what? This is interesting. What could it look like?
Yeah.
Mark V. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, couldn't I continue?
I was going to say Mark V just said, oh no, I just reached a chapter that's going to be painful to write. Tears.
Yeah. Either that could be like a sad chapter or like just like one of those chapters just put off because like the idea is so daunting. I have so many of those.
Sometimes it's cathartic, I think, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Nicole used sight, smell, and taste. Nice. What a Music Geek has a quote. At the moment, Colin saw me and hugged me very tightly. His hugs were soft, and he smelled a sweet cologne from Bath and Body Works. That's really nice. That feels very like warm and like gives me a really good sense of like the relationship they might have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just past 1,000 words for the day. Congratulations. And AV wrote 975 total. Awesome.
You guys write so fast.
I know. I'm always so impressed.
I'm like, wow, that's like a good 3-4 paragraphs in like one sprint.
Yeah. Cabra Parker Simmons got 200 words. Ooh, Julia Peterson said, I used a character's superpower for this prompt. She can sense a specific type of wish people might have. And I love describing that as just another sense for her. That's really cool.
That's really creative. Yeah. Repeat said that was cool. They made us describe sharing food in a totally different way. I'm so curious to how that did.
Megan M said, walking up the street, I love the cool breeze that is tossing my hair around. I can also smell something sweet in the air and the grass looks greener. Or maybe I'm just falling in love. And then later they said that last comma should really be an M dash. So yes, that is a very good example of an M dash play.
Mark V wrote about 3,671 words today. That's a lot.
Incredible.
Wow.
Rai said that was cool. He described sharing food in a totally different way.
Mm-hmm. Nicole had 325 words describing a meal that their MC was preparing to celebrate in a big way. That's awesome. Rachel has a quote. It wasn't the sort of dustiness that made your nose twitch, but the kind that brought a sense of nostalgia and history to the place. That is so written.
Mm-hmm. Ellen Porter says, "Yay! Back on track for my camp goal. Woo-hoo. Congratulations."
That's the point.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope that we did help people get back on track for their goals, or push forward if you were already on track. It was really fun. I know I got some good stuff out of it. So let's see. Yeah, so we are doing these virtual write-ins every Friday. We just got a couple minutes left, so make sure we have our like last announcements going on. But yeah, we'll be doing these every Friday through April. So is next Friday the last Friday in April? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how did that happen already?
Yeah, it's been a really fast month.
Yeah, somehow. I always feel like NaNoWriMo months in particular just tend to go by very, very quickly. But yeah, so for people who are on track or who are coming up to their goal, don't forget to continue to update your word count on the NaNoWriMo site and to officially like claim your win if you reach your goal. So I'll put a link to our like help desk there about how to win and all that good stuff if you have any issues with that. But yeah, we have some awesome like sponsor offers going on, and sometimes you get there are a few sponsors who have like extra deals or goodies if you win. So make sure to keep doing that. Yeah, and like I said, we'll be back next Friday for our virtual write-in. Oh, if anybody was planning on going to the Writers of Color Zoom hangout that was supposed to happen in a couple hours, that's been canceled today. The person who hosts it was not feeling well, so that's canceled today. If anybody was planning on going to that, just FYI. Yeah, I don't know, Ria, you got anything else that you want to say before we head out?
Just good luck finishing this last stretch of your Camp Nano project. You know you got it, and whatever progress you made this month, even if that means you didn't hit your goal, there's still a lot of progress, and so be proud of yourself, and we're proud of you.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks everybody for joining. We love seeing you here, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.